This is RacingRant's preview of Rosehill for the 17th of June. We've lost Pollitt to Gosford. He's gone.
Sans Pollitt, not
Yeah,
Sans Perth.
Sans Pollitt. But Gord, look, it is a cracking card. The rail goes back into the true position and we're on a wet track, whereas Rosehill has been dry for the most of May. So that's an interesting twist. Well, there's two interesting twists on the meeting. The meeting held a fortnight back was on a 6-metre rail where the fence was on fire, and I'm not saying there'll be necessarily anything wrong with the fence this week, but it's a different going. It's wet rather than dry, and as I say, the feed is from a meeting where there may be some issues with that form.
Yep.
So, race 1 is a 2-year-old race over 1,350 metres. Not a lot of city form here actually. $3 Gulwar from Canterbury midweek. $3.50 Whalalai, who resumed at Kembla. $4.80 Bull Market from Broadmeadow. And then $14 Aristar, who raced on a Saturday 2 weeks ago. $15 Gupure, $15 Bidwee, $15 Momentum to Win, $19 the unraced Condor. Long odds the other runner. Wheelalai has been back to the trials since resuming at Kembla and drew inside on that occasion. He draws wide here, and I thought that would indicate that he would crash across to the lead. Gulwar will obviously posse up, and I'm not sure where Bull Market's going to get to because he just found himself in a lovely position at Broadmeadow. Aristar can be on speed, as can Bidwee from his low draw. Away you go.
The only three that I had a closer look at were 1, 2 and 3. I could pretty much pen the rest of them as having no chance. And the one I found on top was number 1, Hello Lie.
You need to watch a bit more surfing, you know, get your Hawaiian intonation right.
Yeah.
Wheelalai.
Wheeler with a W.
Oh.
Yeah. The thing that I missed out on, you guys that watched the trial videos, is that we couldn't actually see past the post on the 7:35 with Halalai because there was a horse that was 50 lengths last, and the cameraman decided to wait until it went past the finishing post.
It has owners. Its owners need to see what happened.
So I would have really liked to see past the post because it was only the short course trial, and this is over 1,350 metres. I'm keen on it. I think it's the best horse in the race. I'm not going to mention it, but there was a key negative about number 2 Galwar, and I totally agree with you on Bull Market that actually it found the perfect spot at Newcastle. Some might give it more credit than it deserves because of the supposed posting wide no cover. So pretty keen on number 1. I mean, the question mark with me is, you know, Tom Berry, wide barriers leaders, you know, like...
Yeah, look, the setup is perfect bar the jockey, I think that's what you're saying, really.
Because he can sort of overthink things and, you know, get it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, but pretty keen on number 1.
I wonder what the go is with the short course trials for this horse. You know, it's had, what has it had? 4 trials all up, or 5 trials all up, and they've all been over the short course. You know,
does that indicate to you that the horse isn't as sound as it could be?
Maybe. It had a relatively short spell, so I don't see a problem there.
You know, like it's when it Kembla, the strongest part of its rate was actually towards the end there. I don't mind the up in distance for me is a positive. Obviously, it's interesting when they have a freshen up, but it's had the trial. A lot of ticks about number 1. I'll be backing it.
Yeah, the key to it was the blinkers coming off, and it did have to gun down a very seasoned horse in Siam, who was, you know, certainly back from 2 Saturday runs and you know, going to be some sort of testing material. Look, I thought Gulwar was all right last week off a break at the shorter course, suited up at the 1,350. We've spoken about Bull Market. There's a line there with Organza, of course, ran in that slow fillies race Canterbury prior, where there was another runner of John Thompson's, I think, that finished just in front of her, and she was spaced in the Kembla race.
The one thing I'll say, which is quite strange, is that if Angel's Boys was in this race, I'd actually be backing it.
Yeah, but it had the worst of things at Newcastle. We've already suggested that Bull Market had the best of things. And look, there's bugger all else. You know, there's a couple of horses down the bottom having their first run at home. Aristar was just not in the race a fortnight back. I know it's T Angler and them done, but it doesn't really look to have any form at all. So I'm on match race up the top there.
Yep.
Race 2, very interesting 3-year-old race over 1400 metres. It's $4 high mist, $4 Arbeitzum, $7 far away town, $7.50 just dreaming, 11 uptown lad, 11 insensata, 12 Wayanka, 16 Samadoubt, 16 Travancore. We've got 2 feeds into this race. So the 1200 3-year-old race a fortnight ago, the 1500 metre 3-year-old race a fortnight ago, and the wild card is High Mist, obviously with a line through Wayanka. Arbeitzum, he's got the leader's draw, and Rachel King to pilot this time. So
I think that's a positive.
Yeah, straight to the front there.
She's been good on front run.
Just Dreaming has to race outside, and Samadoubt should posse right up. Wayanka will be looking for 1 out, 1 back. First impressions?
Pretty keen on 5. I thought it was a great run first up. Done nothing wrong in this horse, lightly raced, conditions to suit, like the jockey change, like barrier 9. Well, I'm just reading out from the form guide here, but it pretty much stamps itself, doesn't it? Like, you look, last preparation at Warwick Farm, over 1400 metres, like spanked France and first approval. Didn't just beat them, absolutely annihilated them.
Yeah, that was when it was ridden to advantage. See, you know, Hieronymus got it spot on that day. He just
got a spot on, but it smashed them. You know, it's the best horse in the race. The only other one I'm interested in, which I think maybe it underperformed second up just because of having a reasonably long spell and a bit of second up jitters there, and I like the fact that it's up in distance now, is number 10, Insensata. Stable's going well. I really like its run first up, so I'm forgiving second up and thinking maybe we can go more off the first up run there.
Well, I think it was beaten by the way the track played was that, you know, it was rails in run, and it, you know, you watched it making its run, and it was like it was falling down a hill, because it's like almost like the other horses were up on the top of the hill, and it looks like it's going to get these horses, but in the last 50 metres it's like it's falling right away.
I was just saying soft late, second up after a long spell. That's all I was going there. But I'm pretty keen on backing number 5. Look, to be honest, today, Mark, I hope a lot of favourites win tomorrow, because I'm going to be betting up on a lot of them, and I hope it's what do we call it? An ABC day. Although I wouldn't even say B and C, I'd say just A.
Well, yeah. I think actually it's quite fertile, because I really think there's nothing better than backing good track form onto a heavy track, provided you're happy with the horse. Because I think that's the best form, that's the full form, and it's only once you get later into the, well, into this season, for example, into the winter season, when we start seeing heavy into heavy, that you can run into problems. I really think that good into heavy with the right horses is... Good
into heavy when the horse has previously shown that it can run on the heavy is like double positive.
Yes, and if in doubt, Mounting Yard Mail is your consultant, Greg Pollock.
Greg Pollock, yes.
Glenn Pollock's Mounting Yard Mail tomorrow from direct from Rosehill. He's getting a bit of a hit out at Gosford, hassling Harley today.
Well, I reckon he's going to have a good day at Gosford today. It seems like a tricky meeting to me. How do you find it?
Yeah, and True Rail, which helps. So I think he'll have a good day there, and it looks like he's sort of card tomorrow as well.
Look, this isn't a very deep race, but I have to say I was against both 1 and 3.
Yeah, well, I mean, High Mist has raced the older horses twice, and I really think there's very, very minimal form out of those races. I understand it's third up, it's Bowman, but stays at 1400 metres. And I suppose all you could say is that I mentioned the line through Wayanka earlier, which is, you know, tailed it up at Randwick, and then Wayanka was quite competitive in the other form race at Rosehill. But for mine, I'm with you. The favourite, the horse that I consider will start favourite, number 5. Look, anything to say about Samadoubt? You're a bit cranky about the ride there last week at Canterbury.
I've actually backed it a few times at what I consider good odds this preparation.
It's 16. It's the longest price runner in the race.
Yeah, it's not hope. It'll be my 3rd selection, but obviously I was very strongly against 1 and 3. You know what I mean? Like, I can admit that maybe they've got a better, they have a better chance, but I don't want to back them. Well, this one I might have something on.
Yeah, okay. The Highway, 1,500 metres, $2.50 Zamex, who won the race 2 weeks ago. We've lost the Freak, so it's $7.50 Mermaid, $8.50 Forever New York, $7.50 Mr. Marmalade, $12 Al Cubana, $12 O'Lordy, and that's pretty much it, long odds the remainder. Now, there's not a lot happening here. There's Mr. Marmalade, who will set the speed, and other than that, I couldn't find, you know, there's a possibility that either Jean or even O'Lordy could be persuaded forward. Mermaid should race handy, but Mr. Marmalade certainly gets good control here second up. Away you go.
Does number 2 Zamex even need another horse to drag it into the race? I don't think it does.
Look, I don't know, but look, it's a very different setup this week. You had Favours the other day. It was going to win the race, you know, soon after. I would say, was it going to win the race at the 800 metre mark?
Yeah.
Because it sort of flopped out of the barriers, but it quickly just zoomed up along the rails, settled rails midfield, and
for me, this is Saturday Metropolitan Great Horse, and it's running in a Highway. It's winning, number 2 Zamex.
It bothers me that it's just going to flop out and go way back.
Well, I love the barrier 13.
Well, sometimes, but I mean, when it's won with favours like it did the other day, you know, I see a problem here.
Okay, missed the kick by 8 lengths, then only missed it by 2 lengths, following that progression.
Yeah, but it was at the peak of its powers the other day. It's like, you know, it won a race with favours at the top of its game. Are you saying that it's getting better?
And was eased down, yeah, and I like the extra 100 metres. I like the barrier 2 to barrier 13. I think it's the best horse in the race by a country mile. I can't see how it gets beaten. My only problem with it, if he goes right back and sits on the fence and gets himself into traffic problems, but he's got the option to just be
he won't be in the running line.
Yeah.
He won't do that.
And he just starts to move at about the 500. It's all over.
What will actually assist him is the fact that they are a bunch of nuffies and they'll pack up. But you know, I was looking at this race going, well, I don't really like Mr. Marmalade as a horse, but Mr. Marmalade's got the conditions to suit tomorrow versus the favourite, whereas whilst Mr. Marmalade led comfortably the other day, Mr. Marmalade was first up. Now, I know Glenn said that it was pretty tuned up, but I'd suggest that it's got an ace tomorrow, it's got an ace against the favourite tomorrow. And the other horse that I was interested in, actually there's 2 horses I was interested in, Forever New York, who's had a race against his own age in town at his last start. Not a very good race, I know, but not aided by the bias on that occasion. The bias was rails in run and he was not on the rails. Yep. And Mermaid, who's a different horse since Nick Olive's taken her over, because John Sargent, as we've seen with many John Sargent cast-offs, they have talent, but they're not shown to advantage, and all of a sudden someone gets hold of them that can switch them on, and this filly is just going to sit just up on the speed, and I think be quite dangerous here, given that she's won her 2 races, 2 races for her new trainer.
A chick in form is always a good angle, isn't it?
Chick in form. Nothing much else to say there, Gord. I mean, you know, the picture you paint is more than reasonable. Race 4 is 1,200 metres. It's a fillies and mares, and Test the World is $4. Upscale is favoured at $3.90. $8.50 Non-PREV, $9.50 Validate. Scratch from Gosford today. 11 Foreign Affair, 11 all in the reflexes. 12 Feel in the Love, and 13 LA Cheval. Well, LA Cheval looks to find the front tomorrow, unless Test the World decides to hold her out. Validate will posse up, all in the reflexes back in distance, but puts herself just in behind the speed. And the query is Upscale, who was possessed of good speed last preparation, but ridden seemingly deliberately well off the speed first up in an 1100. But I would suggest that she's Well, I'm not sure how she's going to be ridden tomorrow.
Chick in form.
Yeah, well,
Test her well.
I thought that, you know, we've seen upscale at 1200 once, and I know it was on the inside at Randwick. In fact, that was Villiers' day, and that was the day the inside. That was the first indication that normal rail at Randwick was inside was the place to be. So I can't even use that as an excuse for her.
Obviously, it is a chance because it comes out of a stronger race. Might just have more ability. Bowman on board. You know what I mean? There's a few ticks there, but it's going to be well found in the market. I don't think you're ever going to get a value price about it with those question marks that you mentioned. So why not just stick solid with Test the World? Or am I jumping on the bandwagon one run too late? You get that bit of an icky feeling about it, don't you?
Well, it feels like it ran in a fertile race. Do you know what I mean? It's a 3-year-old race. She's coming back to her own sex here. She's unbeaten. You know, another chick in, what did you say? Chick in form?
Chick in form, yeah.
What about, is there anything else in the race?
No, that's all I'm interested in.
I mean, Validate is third up and just sitting there, but would seem not quite good enough.
Non-Peril's promised a little bit, been a bit of a spruik horse.
It's very stale, Non-Peril now.
Yeah, it's a bit stale now, all in the reflexes. That was an all right run last start. I just can't see how one of the other two doesn't win, but I'm only going to be backing the 6 Test the World.
Yeah, what about, G. Schofield's only got 2 rides tomorrow. One of them is Feeling Love, who's got the 1200 metre Saturday Fillies and Mares run last start. Is it a hollow race?
Yeah, well, you know, Times of War sort of gave itself up as a little bit sort of caddy through the line its next start, didn't it? And, you know, Loves of Fantasy sort of gave that form up a bit as well. Not for me.
And a horse we're all very desperately sick of, but LA Cheval gets... she was in an uncomfortable spot the other day. She probably finally gets control.
She's dead to me.
She's dead to you. Race 5, 1500 metres, benchmark 85. $3.25 the shipper, Moss and Dale, off a rather hollow looking run at Echuca. $7 Leopari, $7 Louis CK, $8 Magical Stance, $9.50 Kingsguard, $14 Signposted, $16 Kellyville Flyer, and I missed Ruby the Red down the bottom at $10. Now, you've got Mossendale is an on-speed runner. Signposted will seek the lead from his outside gate, despite the fact that he's coming back in distance. Kingsguard will be forward as well, as will Ruby the Red, who will be persuaded into very much an on-pace position. So they're your 4 horses to get well forward here, and I guess the feeling is that Mossendale at least gets a decent run. We've seen him once in Sydney, where he went very well in a similar sort of race. Well, similar in the sense that it was on a wet track. Since then, he's been bumbling around in Victoria. Yay or nay?
Reverse pen.
Reverse pen.
I'm keen.
Oh, you've ruined us, haven't you? You know, all those months of carrying on like a pork chop. And
okay, but there's a get out clause there, and that it actually has come to Sydney and done the job.
All right, so you're saying it's got a reference.
Yeah. So that run at last start at Echuca or whatever it is, that's better than you think. The horse that actually won that race, Sa-Titi.
You took it on.
Yeah. It's come out and won since, and won very impressively. So I think that's a serious horse. So that form's better than, you know, don't just see Echuca and give it the pen there. That was actually a decent run. They gapped the rest of the field quite comfortably. It's, as we've mentioned, it's had the run in Randwick and won, and I reckon it's up against a few
there were plenty that say that
here.
It didn't win. Remember the photo?
Yeah, no, pretty keen on it. The other 2 I had a little bit of a look at was number 4 Leopari with Bowman on now with the freshen up trial, which is a good thing with Waller, but interesting preparation, really, isn't it? You know, they're just bumbling around with
Well,
this thing.
he scratched it from, where did he scratch it from? Randwick or Rosehill? He scratched it either last week or the week before.
And tell me about the run of Kingsguard last start.
Well, I think he was second up, so I don't know what to make of it. It was.
I don't know whether it's just like that's it. I'm not interested in you ever again, or whether I was going to forgive it or not.
Well, I suspect that the race he resumed in is a bit hollow. It's one of those high-grade races with no promising horses in it.
He was close to the best run in the race.
Can he and beat Careless? Well, Careless has been really struggling in 2 runs since. Yeah, I'm not doubting that. I'm just saying that he might have had an opportunity to shine there because of the lack of guts to the race. Horse I want to mention is Kellyville Flyer, who did some work in the run there last time in the same race as Leopari, and she gets onto a surface that is far more, well, she is far more in favour of. Mossendale has obvious claims. I thought Louis C.K. won his race the other day. You know, it was just there was the setup. You know, he was there to win it, and he did win it. So tick for him there, and he gets Kieran here.
Probably going to do that once every preparation as well. That kind of horse, isn't it?
He just seemed like you know, that was his turn. Magical Stance returned well in a very yicky race. Kingsguard we've spoken of, and Reby the Red. Well, I sort of want to see him in an 1800, but gee, he was pretty brave the other day and surprisingly well backed, and gets T. Clark here. He looks a contender. But
what price Kellyville Flyer?
Well, it was $16. I'm not sure if it still is, but
I'll definitely be backing it.
well, that's the end of part 1. It's still got plenty to go at Rosehill, and Dick will be touting his wares at Moonee Valley tomorrow. John McLeod's got the Ipswich Cup or the Ipswich meeting, the feature meeting there to get his teeth into, and I'll talk more about them in part 2.